Welcome back to the Mr. McNugget Show. I'm Mr. McNugget. Did you know that I fancy myself as well, let's say I'm an enthusiast. What does that mean? See, because usually an enthusiast picks out a thing that they're passionate about and pours their time into it, their spare time outside of work, unless they're fortunate enough to be an enthusiast about what it is they work towards at their job on a daily basis. Which I'd hope you'd be sort of enthusiast level of knowledge at what you do at work. But I'm talking about hobbies. And some people are trading card enthusiasts, board game enthusiasts. Some people are connoisseurs of fine Cuban cigars. I don't know. Not something I spend any time with, but more power to you if that's what you like. But I started thinking, I have a lot of hobbies. But I don't know how many of them I actually enjoy. And I think it comes down to this whole notion of being an enthusiast. I think we live in a world now, and I talk about the world we live in now like it's closing in on us and there's always something wrong. But I think with the discussion that goes on the web in various different forums, and even right here on YouTube, people are trying to out-expert each other on everything to the point where we're not really having fun with any one thing. And a lot of people do a lot of things, but don't spend a lot of time doing the things they love for the sheer fact that they just love doing them. And don't think about all the peripheral stuff around the outside. I'm going to use myself as an example in this video because I feel like I do this a lot. I'm trying to get better about it. You know, I'll use YouTube as a perfect example. I've kind of gone in and out of filming videos, not filming videos, recording podcasts, stopping recording podcasts. And what I find is I'm initially charged to get out there and start doing the recording. And then once I prove to myself that I can do it, I pressure myself to keep upping the ante to the point where it becomes a chore, and then I immediately stop. I don't do it anymore. For me, it's all of this stuff around. See, I live in a small place, and I have a family, and so I don't have a studio per se. I don't have a place where I can just set aside my setup, and I don't have a powerful PC to sit behind and be able to talk into and things like that. So I rely on my phone. I use my phone. I have 2 softbox lights that I use. I have this little lapel mic that I wear on my shirt here. And I don't think you can actually see it in this video, but I assure you it's there. I'm wearing kind of darker clothing in this video. And that's really, you could argue that obviously there's room for improvement, but this does the trick, and I should be okay to keep releasing content this way. But then I always get on Amazon and think, well, maybe I should get like one of those mics on a stand, even if I went with like a Blue Yeti, because you can use those on an iPhone. And maybe I should find a specific spot and do something with the background and not keep it simple just in the corner of a room like I'm doing here. And then I just start telling myself that what I'm doing now just isn't enough. It's not good enough, and it's not really worth spending your time on unless you're going to go all out. But the reality is, making content is what I came to the table to do, and I'm getting outside of the realm of why I came here in the first place in order to come across like I'm some sort of a video enthusiast. I didn't go to school for this. This is just something I'm interested in, and I lose sight of that, and then it's not fun anymore. But let's go to other hobbies that I have in particular and just kind of throw these out there. There are a few things that I absolutely adore outside of my family and life stuff that is important and obviously comes before hobbies. But I'm going to talk about these hobbies. So one of them is video games. I know I've talked about it before. I especially like retro video gaming, but I'm a big fan of the Nintendo Switch. I play a lot on the Nintendo Switch. But I try to, instead of just enjoying the games that I know I enjoy, like 3D platformers, Mario Odyssey is a perfect example. I really like Breath of the Wild, the new Zelda game that came out when the Switch debuted. Love those games. But I find myself listening to people talk about games that I think are beautiful and wonderful and I want to be a part of in some way, but just never have enjoyed playing. Final Fantasy is a great example of that for me. And then I tell myself, you know what, this is going to be the time. I'm going to get it this time, and I'm going to be the enthusiast. I'm going to know everything there is to know about games, and instead of thinking about what I actually enjoy playing with the free time I have, I try to force myself into stuff that I know I probably am not going to enjoy, and I convince myself it's just trying to broaden my horizons. The trouble with that is, though, I feel like the horizons are broadened. I do appreciate these role-playing video games. I appreciate them. I love the music that's in most of them. I appreciate the sprite artwork in the older ones, and the way that, so much writing and development of these stories takes place in a video game. It's great. But I also think role-playing games have a game loop that is designed to steal your time from you. I don't want to fight the same enemy over and over and over again just to gain some experience points. And then I set out to do that because I want to finish the game, and I end up just driving myself nuts doing the same things over and over again that some people thrive on, but I know my character enough to know that I just don't thrive on that stuff. I burn out of it. I never finish the game even though I set out to, and then I end up going back to what I know that I like. Quick hit games. Old Nintendo games, Super Nintendo games, games that you can sit down with for 30 minutes and be done with for a while. I mean, I know the Switch lets you do that with modern games too, but I should know myself better enough than to try to think I'm going to be this role-playing enthusiast and be able to add to these conversations that I am so intrigued by. Why can't I just consume the conversations on the web that people are presenting to me and be happy with that? I have no idea. I also do it with things like coffee. Stupid, right? Coffee? Why would you do that about coffee? Wouldn't a Keurig machine just be enough? Or just a regular dripped coffee pot? No, I've got a French press. I've done that 4 times. I'm already sick of it. Not because the coffee doesn't taste great, because it is fantastic. But why do I have to be like this coffee enthusiast to enjoy a cup of coffee? I've cleaned that French press 3 times. And I already kind of hate it because it's obnoxious to try to clean each time you use it just for the 1 cup of good coffee. But is the good that much better than what I was having? Or have I convinced myself that, well, if I'm going to be an enthusiast, I've got to do coffee the right way? I also have a pour over. I've used that 5 or 6 times because it's less work. Better coffee than a drip machine? Better enough to give up the convenience of just using the regular old drip or the Keurig? No, at least not in my opinion. But again, if you are a coffee enthusiast and that's what intrigues you and that's the way that you like doing coffee, and you're committed to that, more power to you. It's just, I need to know my own limits. I reached out recently and decided I'd like to try tabletop board games, or not tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons. And I have a lot of friends that play, and it looks amazing. It looks amazing. But of course, I go buy the starter set and start reading through this campaign that's in there. Like I'm all of a sudden going to be the dungeon master of this game that I've never played before, and I'm going to lead people on this great adventure. Why can't I just be like, hey, I'd like to join somebody on a D&D campaign. Somebody have me along. I'm a complete newbie, but I want to learn. I have friends that'd be glad to do that. I've had multiple friends reach out to me and say, hey, come on over and join us. That's what I should do. Just go enjoy the game and actually learn the game before I feel like I have to be some scholar about Dungeons and Dragons. It's ridiculous. This is supposed to be fun. The one that I'm worst about is movies, and movies are what I enjoy the most. And it is the hobby that I would like to be considered an enthusiast in, but I feel like for the wrong reasons sometimes. I feel like especially on the internet, you want to look like you really know what you're talking about. So you fill yourself up with factoids. I mean, how many times have I sat down to watch a movie and I'm Wikipediaing that's a weird way to put that as a verb. Looking on Wikipedia for little factoids or did you knows about the movie I'm currently watching when I should just be watching the movie. Because I like coming to my own conclusions about things. I don't like being fed things, but I feel compelled to look on the internet as I'm watching the movie. And it's almost like I feel like I need to be able to discuss intelligently what I'm consuming, as opposed to just being real about what I'm seeing and saying yeah, I like that because X, Y, and Z happened, and not feel like I have to check and see if my opinion isn't one that's going to be lambasted, or however you say that. You know, if I post what I really think on Twitter, for instance, what are people going to think about that? That's not something I should be concerned about. You know, the enthusiast, I feel like I'm not using the word enthusiast as a negative here. Enthusiast is a very good thing. I just think you have to know what you're most enthused about and pursue that in a way that fulfills you. And with movies especially, I just need to pursue the joy of being in front of a screen and watching a movie. And don't get me wrong, I love to talk about movies too. But I don't need to enter into a conversation with the sole purpose of trying to look like I know my stuff. You know, the only barrier to entry to a movie conversation is having seen the movie. And that should be enough. That should be enough. Because ultimately, I think this attempting to be an enthusiast at everything is making my life a little bit more of a pain in the spare hours that I have in the day that I should be just relaxing and enjoying. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic of conversation. Be sure to leave them in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe. If you are subscribed, click the bell icon so you know which video is coming out next when it releases. Until next time, I look forward to seeing you right here on the Mr. McNugget Show.